Good evening and welcome to the Governing Board meeting for the Deer Valley Unified School District on Tuesday, October 10, 2023. I call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Let the record reflect that all board members are present. If you are able to stand, please do so and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence.
Madam President, if I could, for this moment of silence, I just want to encourage everybody to take a moment to reflect on how fortunate we are to live in this country and to keep those that are being affected by wars around the globe in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
You may be seated. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
I move that the governing board adopt the agenda.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. All those
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those that oppose? Aye. We got. Okay. Moving on to item 3, district report. Mr. Miglorino.
President Paperman, members of the board, Dr. Finch, we have our financial report to share with you for the month of September. And the information related to that basically is showing that our working budget for this fiscal year 24, is $277 million. And presently, we have all of those funds committed with the exception of an unapplied amount of nearly $4.2 million and some one-time state funding that was provided after we had made commitments for this budget of $8.4 million. Remember that those $8.4 million from additional state supplemental funding is only for this year, for fiscal year 24, leaving us with a projected carry-forward balance right now of just under $12.6 million. And I will just comment that the negotiation solution team, due to the salary recommendation that was approved by the board back in the spring, is working on plans for the unallocated funds in fiscal year 24 per the agreement that we had, that was approved by the board in the spring. I will be happy to answer any questions the board might have before I move on.
Any questions, board members? Okay, no questions. We're going to move to item number 4, call to the public.
President Paperman, we have a
Is that
second
done?
report.
Okay.
There's a second report that's the bond and override report for the year. Would it be okay to share at this point?
Yes.
Again, this report is something that will look familiar. This has been required for a number of years at this point in time, but it is a recap of the spending of the $175 million bond authorization that was approved in November of 2019. As of June 30th, you can see we have just over $91.5 million committed. Just over half of the percentage at this point It is always a little bit misleading because this is through June 30th of 2023, the end of our fiscal year. Many of the projects that we do cross over the fiscal year, so there's a significant amount of funds that were committed in July and August that aren't represented on this, that were projects that we were doing over the summer that did not get completed and billed by the end of that fiscal year. This is just that same information shown graphically. And then we actually have some highlights of the various categories from the publicity pamphlet of what we've spent. So in this instance here, $5.8 million is what we spent on facility improvements. The lion's share of that happened to be the high school media project, that modernization project. $10.3 million to maintain our technology throughout the district. And then $1.3 million worth of furniture for new spaces that we created at various campuses. We finally were able to make a little bit of headway with replacement school buses, $530,000 in that fiscal year, and some replacement vans. They didn't actually end up being vans. Vans were more difficult to get, but they will be replacing vans with Chevrolet Equinoxes. Building renewal, maintaining the existing facilities, just over $3.9 million. Our conservation efforts, just over $3.8 million. And then some safety and security projects throughout the district, just over $925,000. The student growth that you see here happened to be the addition at Union Park, $1.7 million. We completed the work at Elementary 32 for the 400 building build out of that, just over $2.9 million. And then administratively, we had $104,000 worth of technology devices, a small expenditure of $5,400 for network infrastructure, vehicle replacements for the white fleet, the fleet that serves the support support departments, just over $460,000. Those were trucks mainly. The Northern Services Center garage, we started that. This is just some early payments for the architect to get started on that project. And then some building renewal improvements and conservation, as well as equipment replacement to round out the administrative costs. So $32.89 million was spent from July 1st of 2022 to June 30th of 2023. Here are the projects that we identified, and a little bit more detailed information than I just shared. As you can see, the 4 classroom addition building at Union Park, as well as the 400 building at Inspiration Mountain in our new construction, or the student growth area. For the instructional related needs, the extracurricular band uniforms at Barry Goldwater, as well as a lot of performing art instrument and equipment replacements. On the athletic side, we did complete the weight rooms. Schools not listed here were completed in the previous year, so again, one of those items that crossed fiscal years. The sand volleyball courts was a joint effort between the campus as well as some bond dollars for that. And then a variety of athletic uniform and equipment replacements. From the technology, I won't read all of these, but you can see the extent there. Just highlight 6,000 Chromebooks, 700 teacher laptops, so a considerable amount of replacement equipment or technology equipment per our schedule. And then one of the major projects has been the interactive display panels in our campuses. I think we're finishing up the last 1 or 2 campuses as we speak. So that project will be completed before the end of October, we hope, in which all of our projectors will be replaced with interactive display panels at our campuses. Again, won't read all of these, but a host of energy conservation projects, some safety improvements, and then some building improvements at various campuses throughout the district. Do want to acknowledge, as I'm flipping through this, hopefully not too quickly, that our communication and community engagement folks We'll have this information posted as the special report to the community is being distributed to all households, so this information will be available on our website as well. Again, maintaining the existing assets that the taxpayers own, the existing buildings by maintaining the exterior paint, the flooring, interior paint, resurfacing the track at Boulder Creek, and some gym resurfacing of wood floors. I already mentioned some of this. We did order 13 buses. We only received 3 of them. The rest of them are in production still. We have been waiting for, I think, more than 2 years for school buses. We've been waiting more than a year for some of the other fleet. Again, 9 Chevy Equinox to replace vans, and then various White Fleet 5 trucks and 2 transit vans for our support departments. This statutory requirement also has us provide the information about how we're spending the M&O override because that is also voter approved. This just breaks down the $33.4 million, how we're spending it for this year, fiscal year 24. Again, more than half of it at $17.4 million is included in employees' salaries. So it's 8% of all employees receive a portion of their salary from the M&O override. The class sizes are also mitigated due to the override. The specialized programs, the lion's share of that nearly $6 million happens to be full-day kindergarten at $5.9 million. We have some smaller ticket items at the bottom of that list, including extracurricular, co-curricular, counselors, and district and school budgets. So that concludes the information that we had to be able to share about how the funds were spent for those things that were voted on by the from the 2019 election. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Any questions, board members? I have a question on construction, new construction. Can you please share with the community members where these constructions of new schools going to be built?
President Paperman, the new construction in the new bond?
Oh, okay. So because new construction, student growth, we have 24 million, right? So what's the 24 million on the budget for new construction student growth?
Yes, so that was, so you can see prior to the 21-22 year, we spent $19.2 million. That was for Inspiration Mountain. So the 24 million is a combination of 2 amounts, $2 million for student growth and $22 million for specifically for elementary 32. So it is in the 2019 bond. It is for Inspiration Mountain, which we are currently building.
Okay, and then in the future, we're looking to build more schools, because these are the questions I'm getting for community members, that there's a lot of money going into building the schools and not looking at the population of students of each school, and more needs to be going into students, teacher salaries, and benefits.
Yeah, so President Paperman, in the bond that will be decided this November, there are 2 school projects, 2 new school projects that are included in that bond total. One is the first phase of high school number 6, and it is in the 5th year of that 5-year initiative. It's the first phase of that high school. And the other is in year 4 of that 5-year initiative, an additional K-8 school, both of which would be in the vicinity of I-17 and the 303 freeway on property that we are still working with the state land department on. The reason for that is we are currently tracking between 6,000 to 8,000 multifamily homes between Happy Valley Road and the Carefree Highway on the east side of I-17. And Dr. Finch and I met with the state land department last week, and they provided us with information that on the first sale of the land near the TSMC plant, but on the west side of I-17, has 8,900 multifamily home units in it. They expect that land to sell sometime in 2024. So the new bond, it's because it's a 5-year initiative. At the tail end of that, with all of the development that we're currently tracking, that we believe that we will have a need not only for that K-8 school in year 4 of that 5-year plan and first phase of high school number 6 in the 5th year.
Thank you for the information. Also on the district website, there's also more information. So, community members have any questions or also email Dr. Finch or the district. Any other questions?
Could you clarify what bond money can be used for and M&O money can be used for?
Sure. President Paperman, Ms. Ordway. Yeah, so the bond dollars are different than our operational budget, and statutorily is limited to what I tell people is tangible things. So bond dollars themselves are attributable to things like building schools and school buses and technology and furniture, things of that nature, and cannot be used for teacher salaries. That is why there are 2 elections that will be decided this November. One is the continuation of the maintenance and operation override, which gives us operational dollars to be able to spend on things like teacher salaries, class size reduction, things that were on that list, full-day kindergarten, et cetera. But bond dollars, again, being restricted, have to be used on capital items.
Thank you. No other questions, board members? We're going to move on to call to the public number 4. Mr. Carver.
The board invites public comment on the district's business in general and on any agenda item in specific. All speakers must observe the rules of decorum. Speakers must fill out a card listing name, address, and topic and hand it to the board secretary prior to the president calling the meeting to order. Speakers must make their comments in no more than 3 minutes. If necessary, to accommodate all speakers within the 30-minute overall limit, the board president may shorten each speaker's time. Constructive criticism is in order. Rudeness, vulgarity, disruptive conduct, or remarks disrespecting personal dignity are not in order and will not be allowed. Under the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the governing board cannot discuss or act on any items not listed on the agenda. Board members may respond to criticism made by a speaker, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be put on the future agenda. I'll read the names of the speakers in the order that we'd like to have you speak. When you approach the microphone, please state your name for the record. Joshua Hawkins, Tiffany Hawkins, Ron Janishak, Alta Westfall, Jerry Knorr, and Alexis Reed.
Joshua Hawkins. Good evening, board. We've come to you again to ask for change, cooperation, and compliance. This district is not documenting but a small fraction of the issues that are happening on their campuses. In the past 6 years, this district has failed to document over a dozen instances of my children being harassed, intimidated, bullied, picked on, and slapped around. ALS director has stated that on ARS 15-341, we can do better. The ALS deputy superintendent has stated we should look into clarifying this policy and we can improve on our training. Each of these statements can be turned into actions with one thing: documentation. Document your practices and document every occurrence with a student. We have heard all the things that should have been done, but what are we going to do now and moving forward? ALS director, deputy superintendent, and the safety coordinator are focusing too much on the definitions instead of the problem, the documents. Each level of our escalation has been narrowly focused on what term we're calling the behavior or what term they're defining. The first 3 weeks of this ordeal was the safety coordinator telling us what it wasn't, or redirecting us to where things happened. To reiterate, your own policy, JICK, states that you are responsible for off-campus conduct. So again, if it affects the students on campus, your policy requires your action. From the start, we have only ever stressed that all these issues would be reduced if everything was documented, written information in a place where anyone can visibly see it. Only you know what you know. The next person who witnesses an issue won't have any clue if the student has acted out for the first time, or is this a repeat of an ongoing issue. It does also take placing an event into a category. This way we know what discipline applies to what actions. Documentation, definition, decision. This district policies on bullying, harassment, and intimidation is too unclear for the public to understand how they apply discipline. The circumstances seem to fit the profile, but no one wants to call it anything. The policies need rewritten to be clear. The district has admitted to using unwritten rules that cause confusion. The practice of how they define things is only known by 2 individuals at this district. ALS directors stated, "I have never seen this practice before. The way they practice it, it's difficult to follow since it's not written in the language." Other school staff interviewed agree they are not sure how to read the policies either. Reporting forms across many schools is too inconsistent to provide all the necessary data to determine the next steps. The ALS director has stated a lot of different personalities and how they see things. Not everyone should be a teacher. Although this is true, the staff should follow policy and procedure, and how we define behavior should be the same regardless of personality. As a society, we do not apply rules based on someone's personality. We are all expected to follow the same rules.
Tiffany Hawkins. Good evening, board members. We need consistency across all schools, including the district office. Forms and policies. All 8 schools we visited in the district so far have completely different report forms. The fact that the district allows this much discretion without approval is adding to the misunderstanding. Regardless of the schools writing their own version, when the tire meets the road, you document everything. Every little thing. Everything gets noted on the kids' files. If it's in the definitions, policies, and laws, it's getting written down and placed in power schools. Name calling, documented. Seclusion, documented. Forcing another student not to attend tutoring so you can go alone when you documented. You're fat, ugly, and can't spell past KFC? It better be documented. Slapped in the face and cyberbullied? Most definitely documented. And then some. Without true fidelity, your discipline reports will always provide a false result. Data is missing. Key elements necessary to provide the most clear and conclusive results. Did we spend the district's funds on Panorama to get a better program to track behavior more efficiently, which allows you to better understand the environment and provide better working conditions, which yields better test results? Is the district inputting 100% of the data, meaning all the incidents, or do we just waste time and funds on something that won't work because the district isn't using it correctly? Every teacher, counselor, principal, and admin needs to begin immediately properly documenting everything that happens like a child's life depends on it, because it does. ALS director states Panorama gets what it wants. The district sets the criteria for the reports. The superintendent decides what data to filter. Your criteria you set in Panorama will lie to you, telling you that everything is okay when it is not. You can't see it because it's not there. But unlike the monsters under the bed, this terror is real and will sneak up on you. One more hurtful word, one more degrading look, one more ignoring my cries for help when I can't scream any louder, bam, it happens. Every parent's worst nightmare. This is the reason there is an ARS 15-341 for bullying and 13-2921 for harassment. So there is no questions, no cracks to fall through. No making it up as we go. The laws clearly outline the behaviors and the requirements by law to document every alleged case. So if a student or parent reports an issue stating bullying or harassment, you are not allowed to first apply definitions to see if it fits. You are required to take a written report and then document the case. Then you investigate and find the definition. The safety corridor never took the time to follow this process. I explained my case to what we got back was dismissal of every one of them. This is why the district continues to experience problems like this. With employees who pass judgment without properly investigating, you are sowing the seeds of disaster. All their previous teachers and principals failed to document due to the misguided direction of the district staff. Show us better, and we will believe better.
My name is Ron Janashek. What I'm talking about here is the bond and the override. I'm a taxpayer. I've lived on Morningside in this school district since 1995. And it seems like what I've seen over the years is the schools never have enough money. It's always have an override or a bond. We have to make do with our money. I only make so much money, so I can't spend more. There's nobody I can go to. I can't go to the taxpayers and just say, hey, cough up some more money. With all that's going on right now with the economy, I'm paying close to $5 a gallon for gasoline. A bag of ice used to cost me $1.79. They now cost about $3.99. Everything has gone up. I don't understand why, in an economy such as this, you guys chose to ask for more money. I think that's in extremely poor taste, And it shows me something that you're calloused and you really care more about yourselves than you do about the actual taxpayers. As far as I'm concerned and what I've understood is that your enrollment is flat and maybe even slightly declining, while the charter schools have a waiting list. I don't understand that one either. Your students have a 50% proficiency in math, 56% in the English language arts, and you're coming for more money? If I was 50% proficient at my profession, I would be ashamed to ask for more money. I would be ashamed. So what I'm saying is before you come to the end, which you think are never-ending trough of money, why don't you try to do a little bit better job with the students? I don't think the facilities need to be state-of-the-art. I think a student can learn to read in a building that's maybe not the latest and the greatest. We have to make do with what we have, and I think the school should also. Thank you.
Guess I'll take this one. um, Ms. Paperman and members of the board, I'm Alta Westfall, and I just wanted to share some insights I discovered about Common Core from an article in the Washington Post in April of 2021, written by Valerie Strauss. It is a book review. The title of the book is Between the State and the Schoolhouse, Understanding the Failure of Common Core, and it is written by Thomas Lovelace. He is a Harvard professor of policy, a former sixth grade teacher. The premise that he puts forth in this book is the failure of Common Core. It was enacted in 2010, and results have shown no significant gains in student learning. And the reason I wanted to mention this is I was one of the public assessors for the most recent math curriculum, the iReady Math and the Eureka Math Squared. I wanted to do a little more research rather than just look at the curriculum that was, very well presented on your website. And what I discovered, as much as I could understand, perhaps I'm wrong, but I did some pretty in-depth searching the web, and I discovered that these two math curriculums are Common Core. Let me know if I'm wrong, but that's what I surmised. Um, so with that said, if this is true, I would like to share a poem written by a teacher in Oregon, and it's called The Core Connection. The administrators, stuffed in suits, strut through our school, clenching clipboards, nod plastic smiles, speak words like Common Core, like standards and benchmarks. But those of us who live in these rooms, that's what a classroom is. Those of us who live in these rooms, who know each other's stories and share apples and granola bars because there was no food in the house after Dad was arrested, we nod and smile back our secret knowing. Our secret knowing, core is community. Core is complex. Core is connection. After enter,
Good evening, public, and those online, Chairman Paperman, board members, paid staff. I just wanted to talk about the bond and override, since it's coming out of my pocket. Amazing, we just got a June 30th report on the last bond and override. And we were told there's money that has been spent this year, but no report. This is 3 months old from a 2019 bond that we're currently taking taxpayer money from. But let's talk about the 2023 bond of $325 million with $127,000 million in interest. Not sure of how many people would take on that kind of debt if it was their own money, but since it's not, I guess that's standard practice. It's a tax increase. That's what it is. None of the BS words that get thrown out there. It's a tax increase. More money out of our pocket. Enrollment's down 1.1%. That's flat since 2016. In an area that's exploding in growth. I wonder how much percent of growth would it show up at those schools if we were doing a good job. Our proficiency is at 56% at our best subject. That's something to be pretty proud about. Teachers, staff, board. I know the community's not. I guess is that an ESG grade? We get A+ schools out of that. That term gets thrown around a lot by the staff. Leadership. Teacher pay in the last 5 years is up 44%. That's a pretty amazing amount, big figure. But what do? We cut a deal with the Taiwan plant. Us taxpayers need to build their schools. But they don't have to pay for it, we do. Wonder who's pocketing that kind of profit. They're not even here yet, and we got to pay for it. We're paying for it now. Made our budget go up before. This deal was cut by a board member. They have to be on our board and on the city council. Wow, that sounds like a conflict to me. Oh well, I wonder how much carryover money we're hiding this year, next year. This is amazing. Terrible transparency, F-, big time. And that's not ESG grade, that's real grade. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alexis Reed, and I have a little more positive spin. I was a retired teacher, and I spent the weekend talking to a lot of voters to vote yes on the board and override continuation. I know how the schools need this. It's very frustrating that groups of people don't want the best for our future leaders, our children. My grandchildren and all children need the best education, and I feel they're getting it. I volunteer at a school in Anthem, and my teacher works very hard. Our district needs as much support to hire enough and good teachers and have safe environments for all. We need to vote yes, as we are already paying for the bond and override with our current property tax. Thank you for all your information that you've given us, and thanks.
Next, we're moving to old business. Mr. Carver, can I have a motion to approve item 5?
I move that the governing board approve an outside agency to process employee and parent satisfaction.
Second.
All those in favor?
There's no discussion. We're just going
Oh.
straight to the vote.
Well,
That's awesome
this-
for me.
We had discussions on this. If you want to talk more about it, any questions,
Oh,
governing
absolutely
board?
not. I think we've discussed it to death.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye. All that opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Aye.
I'm going to vote aye because it's in statute.
President Paperman, if I could clarify my vote.
Mr. Carver?
Yeah, so the statute that we discussed last time, Mrs. Fisher's correct. The first top half of that statute says that if you use the prescribed bonus structure that the state gives us for superintendents, that we should outsource the survey. But if a school district decides, and this is number 39 in the ARS that's mentioned, if a school district decides to go off book and create their own bonus structure for the superintendent, they are not required by law to outsource that survey. So based on that, I'm going to vote no and move from there.
We would have to take a public vote to do that, and we do use these surveys for his, I want to be clear to the public, we do use the surveys for his bonus, so it's the law.
I'm just referencing the legal opinion that we received, so we'd have to take it up with legal counsel if we need further clarification.
Okay, so,
Thank you.
and I also would like to let the public know the reason it was put on the agenda is for the large majority of staff and community members, parents, that they wanted more transparency within the district with the survey. I was hoping to at least try it for a year, but unfortunately it didn't pass. So we're
Mrs.
going to
Paperman, can I
move
ask
on.
Mrs. Paperman, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
When you say large majority of parents and staff were not happy or asked for a better or different, are you saying that you've heard from 51% of about 66,000 parents and 51% or 49% of 4,000 plus employees? Because I'm just not understanding when
Mrs.
you
Orway,
use those
this
words.
survey issues has been going on even when Mrs. O'Brien was on the board. This has been an issue year after year after year. And yes, when I became board president, is a large majority that are saying we need more transparency with the survey. I even had staff saying, oh, a school was not surveyed or certain individuals were not surveyed. Parents were saying the same thing, so this is why I put it on the
All I
agenda.
was asking you is what you consider a large majority, and I'm done.
Everyone that spoke to us.
And that's not a large majority of those that live, teach, work, support the district. That's all I'm trying to understand, is what you refer to as a large majority.
It doesn't matter. We don't follow the law in
It
Deer Valley.
matters, and
Okay.
we're asking the question.
Okay,
So
this is about transparency that we wanted to provide for
Correct.
parents and staff. So, I mean, it didn't pass, then we move forward with it, and
And
And real quick, to my question, was also for transparency, because when we sit at this dais and use words like majority, many, all-inclusive words,
so, Ms. Ordway,
I'm
did
not
51
done
plus
speaking. When
speak to
I'm
you?
finished
No,
speaking,
because all you
okay.
do is babble, of making up your own
so
laws and your
can we
own
move
little
on?
whatever.
Can we move on,
Just like the
please?
manipulation of the opinion.
We're gonna move on to item
Wasn't
6,
even when Paul was
consent
here.
agenda. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda?
I move that the governing board approve consent agenda items 6A through 6H.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All that oppose?
Nay.
Aye. Okay, we're moving to item 7, action. Can I get a motion to approve action item 7?
I motion that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to pre-approve the addenda as presented.
Second.
Mr. Miglorino, any presentation for this?
President Paperman, no presentation. This is a standing item on the agenda.
Okay, so we'll move to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All that oppose say nay.
As always, I vote nay when there's students being forced to pay for.
Aye. Moving to item B, can I have a motion for item B?
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the annual financial report for fiscal year 2022-23.
Second.
Mr. Miglorino, any presentation for this?
Yes, we do. President Paperman, members of the board, Dr. Finch. So this is the annual financial report for our fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. This report by statute is due to be submitted on or before October 15th. Unfortunately, the Auditor General released the forms late this year, so we did have to scramble a little bit to get this put together, but I did want to thank our team, the interim director of finance, Dale Splitberger, our new director of finance, who still trying to find, the front door of the building. She's so new, but she was instrumental in helping compile this information. So I want to give recognition to them. I'll share some highlights of the spending. This does require a formal consideration and board signatures, so this can be completed by that October 15th statutory due date. But just to point out that the total of all expenses increased by $39.5 million, up from $406 to $445 million for the district. That does include over $43 million of debt service repayment in those amounts. So just to be clear, that doesn't include all of the checks that we wrote to vendors, because that was a debt reservice payment that paid in 2 installments during that year, which is very typical for us. Overall M&O spending was up $38.9 million, so the lion's share of that increase was maintenance and operation spending due to changes in student population as well as some increased state funding. So that was about a 17.6% increase. Spending on salaries was the lion's share of that, so salaries increased by over $22 million, or 16%. Benefits also increased by that same 16 percentage points. Salary and benefits equated to 85% of our M&O spending. That's down over the previous year. Unfortunately, that has to do with the inability to fill positions and for us to seek outsourcing. So we have contracted labor filling vacant positions. So there's slight decrease. I think last year we were right around 86%. So a full percentage point difference between FY22 and FY23. Our projected carry forward for M&O that was built into this year's budget was $13.95 million. With now having all the information to complete the annual financial report, that projected amount has grown to $22.6 million. Again, that was on a $220 million M&O expenditure line, or expenditure budget from FY23. Transportation spending did increase 10%, so not quite as much as the rest of the category, but it was up $1.2 million. The M&O instruction remained 59% of all M&O spending, and classroom spending remained virtually unchanged, just under 70%, which was what it was last year. Again, the difference between that is the instruction spending is direct classroom. The classroom spending is everything that would be affecting students in classrooms. Capital spending did increase from $7 million last year to $12 million this year, or I should say this year being FY23, and that was due to some curriculum adoptions that took place last year and some software increases that we had. I know this report is virtually impossible to read on the screen, but it does provide all the detail of the spending within the M&O budget. And this information will be posted on our Budget 411 site, along with all of the rest of the information that we've typically provide for the public to be able to see. Instruction increased 20.7%. Our student support increased 8.1%. Our instructional staff support increased 38%. Our general administration, which includes the board and superintendent's expenditures, reduced by 11.9%. Our school administration increased by 13.6%. Our central services increased by 16.1%. Our operation and maintenance of our facilities increased by 26.8%. So overall, our general education budget increased by 20%. Our special education budget increased by, or not budget, the actual spending, I should say, by 11.2%. And I already previously mentioned that transportation was just under 10% at 9.9%. So this pie chart shows how the M&O was broken out in FY22. So this is last year's percentage breakdown, where you can see the 59% of instruction here being the largest share, the blue section, if you will, and administration generally being considered the three areas that are shown there as general administration, school administration, and central services. So 2%, 6%, and 3% respectively for 11%. And this chart shows this year, FY23. So again, just for comparative purposes, again, 59.4% is the instruction. So these amounts are very similar year over year, even though there was a increase in total spending. And then again, our what is typically called administration costs for the district would include general administration at 1.8%, again, a decrease over last year, school administration at 6%, and central services at 3.4%. So again, a very similar percentage comparing year over year. There is a bunch of information that's included in the report. I think one of the reasons why the forms were late this year, including a fund balance report that's included. The actual formal state forms are included in what was provided in board docs, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Any questions, board members? Mrs. Fisher?
What funds are not included in the AFR?
President Paperman, Ms. Fisher, what funds are not included in the AFR? I don't know of any fund that's not included in the AFR.
So all financial holdings are included in the AFR.
Correct. The only thing that would be an exception would be like a third party. A third party holding, such as our net position at Valley Schools. Those are not reported because those are held in trust with a third party.
So how many trusts do you have?
There are currently three trusts with Valley Schools: an insurance group, a workman's comp group, and an employee benefit group. So there are three groups that are held in trust.
What's the total holdings?
I would have to get that information for you. I don't have it in front of me.
Can you give me a rough estimate?
As of June 30th of 23, to coincide with this, probably I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of, I don't want to hazard a guess and be way off, but somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 million maybe between the three.
Okay. And then the other question I got from the public, which I couldn't answer, was, is there anywhere in the AFR that they could pinpoint legal services?
President Paperman, Ms. Fisher, there's not a specific area within the annual financial report that calls out legal services. We do code that separately, so it is within our general ledger. And
in the
that
budget?
would, pardon me?
Is it in the budget? Notable?
I think it's in the gold book, but I would have to go back and look.
Okay, that's the same
To
answer
verify.
I gave him. I didn't know. Thank you.
Any other questions? We'll move to the vote. All those in favor say aye. All that opposed say nay.
Aye.
Aye. Moving to item C, can I have a motion for item C?
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the Arizona School Facilities Division SFD Preventative Maintenance Plan Report for 2022-23.
Second.
Mr. McLaurin, any presentation for this?
President Paperman, members of the board, Dr. Finch, no formal presentation other than to share this is an annual requirement for us to provide. It is the list of tasks as identified by the School Facilities Division now, previously the School Facilities Board, in which of the tasks that they identify we have been able to complete in the previous year. So this report does require the board's approval and the board president's signature, as well as the signature from the superintendent and our director of facilities. Again, it's an annual report that just provides what we were able to accomplish as they identify. As I have previously stated, there are some things that we just don't have the manpower to do. For example, one of the tasks is to verify that the outlets work and test each of the electrical outlets. We just don't have the manpower for that. We do rely on staff to be able to identify when electrical circuit doesn't work, and then we send our electricians out to take a look at it. We do not have the manpower to test each one of those. So just as an example.
Any questions, board members? All those in favor say aye. All that opposed say nay. Moving on to item D, can I get a motion for item?
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to payment agreement between Deer Valley Unified School District and Sonora and Reams Holdings LLC.
Second.
Mr. Noguerino?
President Paperman, members of the board, Dr. Finch. So this is a standard per unit agreement that our attorneys drafted, and we have been using up in this vicinity. This is a smaller parcel, just under 10 acres and 127 units. The parcels in the immediate vicinity, at least the new developments that are occurring around here, we have reached the same agreement. It's a $1,000 per unit voluntary assistance fee that is due to the fact that we had to expand both Sonora and Foothills campus, 4 classrooms at that campus, as well as 4 classrooms at Union Park due to the increased student population, not only that they are experiencing now, but expected to experience. As I mentioned earlier, between Happy Valley and up to Carefree Highway, so the areas that would be within the attendance boundaries for those 2 campuses, we are tracking between 6,000 and 8,000 multifamily units that are currently under development on properties that are already owned. And then the State Land Department also owns a large chunk of land, not only in and around the plant, but as I mentioned previously, we found out last week that they're getting ready to sell a large parcel to the north of the plant, in which they'll have an additional 8,900 multifamily unit homes. And that's sale scheduled for sometime in 2024. So again, due to the fact that we don't have the capacity at these schools, our strategy has been to be consistent and charge the same per unit fee to all of these new developers, because the area that is being developed with multifamily homes was originally scheduled or zoned to be commercial property. So we don't have school sites, the necessary school sites for the housing development projects that are being planned for this area. So this was our strategy, was to seek a per unit agreement to be able to offset the cost, to be able to accommodate the students that will be generated from these developments. And I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Any questions, board members?
Just to confirm, Mr. Miglorino, this is one-time money for the benefit of the community, correct?
President Paperman, Mr. Carver, that is correct.
And it's just meant to help alleviate the immediate need that is created by these homes being built?
That is correct. So to offset the cost, to be able to provide an expansion at the campuses to meet the growing need that we will realize over time.
i.e. portables, extra teachers.
Correct.
Things like that. Okay, thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, say nay.
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to reports, Dr. Finch.
Thank you. As I think I mentioned before, I'm on the ASA Legislative Committee and EFRGs. They're really the two main legislative committees in the state. And we meet every year, and we've just now got set the priorities for this upcoming legislative session. As you know, it'll probably be a contentious one as well. And so we set our priorities. As you know, probably it's not unusual to continue to request dollars to help our school districts. As you know, Arizona is 49th in the nation for support to public ed. And we continue to perform above our dollars as a state. And as you know, Deer Valley is one of the best school districts in all of Arizona. We are 92% of our schools are A or B. Over 50% of our schools are A+ School of Excellence. And it's not uncommon to look at the scores in non-relativity because it is in relationship to the score that the Department of Ed makes a cut, and then that's how it's regulated. So we continue to outscore our peers and outscore our county, outscore our state, and so we're pretty proud of that. Academically, we also win about 50 state titles, national titles a year in the fine arts, in academics and in athletics. And so we're, as CTE, we're proud of that. So we continue to fight for public eds with our legislators. We'll be hosting all the superintendents in the state in here later this month. We moved it from Mesa. It's been up here for the last couple of years and gives us opportunity to showcase what Deer Valley does. Just a little note today, I'll put it again in a little more detail in the Friday update, but it looks like Chase Building is going to step up and help us with the other half of the Giving Closet at Deer Valley Middle School. We had a meeting with them today. They're going to work on that. And they did, we had another team that did Barry Goldwater's Giving Closet and did a nice job with that. And so it'd be exciting to have two right across the parking lot from each other. Other things that are coming up, I will be having a conversation with Kurt virtually this next one. Some of them are in the community, some are virtually. Their request to do one virtually so they can watch it and record it and ask questions. So if you're interested in questions that you want me to answer for the public, contact me or Sheila or our communication department, and we'll answer any questions that you might have. Feel free to join that as well. I'm still doing podcasts, finished another one today. This one's going to be on the combinations that we have, the mother-daughter combinations in our district. Quite an interesting podcast. You can find those on the website. Homecomings, those are all going on right now, so take a gander at those. Those are fun to watch and fun to be a part of as they, all the 5 high schools have that event. We've been trying to tie our elementaries and middles to our high schools and doing a better job there. I think Mr. Miglorino hit the bond override well. I think the only question or only fact I would add is we meet monthly with the state land authorities, and one of the last questions I asked him, I said, so he was explaining all this land that's coming up and all the potential development and the speed and the rate it's all going to complete at. So I said, I've been telling people that another Anthem is going to come out of the ground next to that factory. Am I incorrect? He said, oh no, that's going to happen. So you better be ready. So I was pretty exciting to hear that. That's what I've been saying. And he said, no, you are correct. So there's another Anthem coming out of the ground in the next decade on that side of the freeway. So it's pretty exciting. They're still about a month or about a year away from chips actually coming out of the factory. So that's going to be a big boon for our system. TSMC is basically the big brother of Intel, 4 times larger. So it's going to be a game changer for our system. So exciting to be a part of it. Thanks.
Governing board report. Who would like to go first?
I request either the president or vice president go mix it up, and we haven't been doing that.
Would you like to go first? Yes. Okay. Okay, well, Stephanie, would you like to go first? I'm the board president, so I go last. So I'm asking which board member would
Oh,
like
my
to go
goodness,
first.
let's just stop this. I'll go. Oh, my God, I hope the kids aren't watching.
This is
Anyway,
not elementary
I'm
school.
speaking now, and I'd really not like to be interrupted, at least for my board report. I get to continue to visit schools. I saw Mr. Carver. I saw Jenny Frank, which was really awesome at Canyon Springs for Career Day. Those kids had a multiple experience with photography, with scientists, with financial planners, and you had to tie everything into STEM. So it was great to see the whole campus bustling again. And being in the district for so long, there's nothing that makes you happier than seeing guest speakers at a campus. Fiesta Bowl has decided to partner with AIA, so they have now come to, they pick high school games, and this week they picked the O'Connor Boulder Creek game, which I think didn't turn out the way some people thought it would. And Boulder Creek won. But anyway, aside from that, I did get to meet the gentleman from Fiesta Bowl, and they have children in Mountain Ridge, which was sad for them because they didn't get to see that game, and also children in Terramore. So it's kind of neat to see all the connections. It's a small world. Mental health awareness, again, is important. We've got Brendan Salisbury as our senior at Barry Goldwater, continuing to work with his BASOS. We had a student from Barry Goldwater that was a sophomore at Northern Arizona University, Zan, who did commit suicide. His family has created a You Matter, and I believe that's been in existence since 1919 or 2019. And they are partnering with Brendan to raise the money to provide our 5 high schools with the mental health awareness areas, room, and resources. I'm going to tell you, when we throw around all-inclusive terms and somebody asks for clarification, it's requested for transparency. It's not requested to be rude or babble or any of the other rude things that get thrown around. It actually is for transparency, because when you're a public servant and you're saying the majority of this tells me that, then the majority of those people are going to believe that you've spoken to the majority. It could be the majority of the 12 people that you spoke to, where my majority is the majority of the 14 people I spoke to. So I'm just trying to clear that up so we can have transparency and being very genuine, not disingenuous with our words. I'm also asking that we begin to follow our policy BDG that lets us know that when our board president needs to contact legal, that the board is given that information via the superintendent. We should never be surprised when we look at, which I'm also going to ask for what our board incurred legal expenses are, what they are, because we haven't heard anything of what we've spent as a board, never has gotten any kind of a report. To end my meeting or my report, personally, this district has been an awesome place for me to be. I try to give as much as I can, learn as much as I can, and help. I have been diagnosed with a cancer that will require chemotherapy starting on Monday. So I will not be sitting at this dais. However, I will be on the other end of the phone, depending upon how I feel. So I wanted to clear that up. I suggest to people that when you have issues, you let your family, which is this family, help you. So I'm following my own advice, which is not normal. So I'm just letting you know that I'm here, but I'm not here. So if anybody puts like a funny face up here, I just want you to know that I've given them permission. So thank you very much.
Next.
Go ahead, Stephanie. I hope everybody had a very nice long weekend. Mine started out particularly wonderful on Friday. Mrs. Ordway and I spent the morning making book donations for all 10 of our Title I elementary schools. My hope is that it will enhance the learning experience for our students and promote literacy within our community. The idea was also to support our teachers and encourage our students' love of reading. We were able to donate over 450 children's books, which came from my own first grade teaching collection, and I'm just so happy now that they're out of storage and finding wonderful new homes. And it was so nice to just also visit with our office staff and principal at these schools. So speaking of principals, October is National Principals Month, and I want to take the time to thank all of our amazing principals, both here in DVUSD and across the country, who keep our schools running and our students learning. Let's dedicate this month by recognizing and honoring the important role that school principals play in our education system. Principals are responsible for the overall leadership and management of their schools, and they work tirelessly to create positive and effective learning environments for our students and supportive community of teachers and staff. So thank you to our amazing principals. I also want to remind our community that both bonds and overrides can play important roles in supporting our schools. Bonds include the building of new schools, renovating existing facilities, upgrading technology, and security. The override will provide additional funding to support school operating budgets, including staff salaries, education programs, and extracurricular activities. In the next week, our community will be receiving ballots in the mail, and I urge you to vote yes for the bond and yes for the override. And finally, it just wouldn't be in my board report if I didn't once again talk about social. Unfortunately, as the behaviors continue, I feel the need to express my concerns. When misinformation is created and shared on social media, it can have many consequences. False information shared on social media can harm the reputation of individuals, including students and teachers, staff, as well as the reputation of our school district as a whole. Misinformation can lead to misunderstandings, conflict, and division within the school community, undermining the sense of trust and unity that is essential for a positive learning environment for all of our students. We should be leading by example. Responding to and addressing false information can divert valuable time and resources of being here for our students. If we want to support a culture of honesty and integrity and ensure that our school communities thrive in an environment built on trust and respect, then the current behavior by known school board members must stop now. I will read again best practices as I shared before.
Mr. Carver?
Speak with respect, regardless of your viewpoint. Be clear that you are communicating as an individual member of the board, not as an official district spokesperson. Direct complaints or concerns presented online to the appropriate administrator. Avoid posting content indicating that you've already formed an opinion before due process hearing. Post only content that the district has released to the public already. Keep open meeting law requirements at the forefront. Only share information from public portions of meetings. Don't engage in gossip or rumors about district business. Repeating false information can subject you to a defamation claim. Consider the reach and the purpose of your social media post. Report suspected illegal activities, harassing, defamation, and communications. Keep in mind, you were elected to serve the school community. To end on a positive note, I am excited to be moving forward with the grandparent bench mentioned about 2 meetings ago, where trained grandparents can offer support and simply a listening ear as volunteers in their communities for our students. We will be starting with one of our schools to see how it goes, and we will move forward from there. And I want to take this opportunity to also just say that, Anne, you have a very strong community here that loves you so much, and we've got you, and you're going to get through this. And it's
Paul's turn. It's Paul's turn.
Ms. Polster.
Mr. Carver?
Thank you, President Paperman. So on September 29th, I also participated at the Canyon Springs STEM Career Day. It was amazing the huge gambit of opportunities the children were able to participate in. Just for a sampling of some of the classrooms I was able to make it to, Chick-fil-A was on site. They didn't bring any food. I was a little bit disappointed in that. But they were doing their presentation. The City of Phoenix Fire Department came. Maricopa County Air Quality Department was on hand, as Ms. Ordway mentioned. Maricopa County Superintendent of Public Instruction. Tri-Young Incorporated, they specialize in computer coding. Alliance Fitness did a demonstration on jiu-jitsu. And Ms. Ordway was there to talk to the children about photography. Canyon Springs does an amazing job with their STEM, as a lot of our campuses do. But the community engagement is amazing. And I would encourage those that are listening and those that are here in the room to find ways to engage with your local school that's in your neighborhood. Find out what you can do to help. If you're already heavy laden with a lot of commitments, then maybe the PTO is not for you, but find out what the classrooms need, what the teachers need. Find some way to be helpful, whether it's volunteering time and being in the classroom to help read with the littles, or getting, there's something that I started doing last spring at Las Brisas. The STEM classroom there collects recyclable items, simple things just like toilet paper rolls and paper towel rolls. And my family didn't stop collecting after I dropped them off at the end of the school year. So I now have a kitchen garbage bag full of paper towel and toilet paper rolls. But just simple things like that make the teachers' lives so much easier, and they're able to do so much more for the children. So if you have a heart built towards service or wanting to be of service, just reach out to your local school, walk into the front office and ask them what you can do to help. They'll give you something, I'm sure. After Canyon Springs, took a trip up to the New River School. I had never been there before. I'd always heard about it. I know that it's our oldest school. I know that we still have a building there that represents the original school. I was able to go into that building with the principal and Miss Ordway. They were going through their STEM day. It wasn't a STEM career day. It was just something they do on a regular basis. And so was working on a STEM project and made the rounds through several different classrooms at that time. And it was good to see the children's gears turning in their head to try to figure out how to solve the issue in front with the different projects they're working on. As I mentioned last week, I try to make a goal to go out on the regular basis to visit a handful of schools, hopefully weekly, as work allows. And I'll be back on campuses tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. It's always fun to get out there and see what challenges and successes that we're having on campuses. As Dr. Finchen mentioned earlier, it is homecoming month. And just a selfless plug for my campus, Deer Valley High School. Homecoming game is the 20th. Be there, wear your blue and silver. You won't be able to miss the class of 1988, who is celebrating their 35th year reunion at the football game. And then again, we'll be meeting at McFadden's at Westgate Saturday night at 6 p.m. So I mentioned that so that if there's any administrators or educators still with us that are from that time period or have any connection with any of those students, please feel free to come. You're invited. We'd like to see you. So that goes out to the Mr. Andersons of the world. And I'm sure Miss Coda is still listening. That's all that I have this evening. Thank you for all that the community does and that the administration does to help our children.
Mrs. Fisher?
I'm going to start my, I did lose my glasses earlier today, so if anybody finds glasses, they're mine. I know your deeds, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish you were either one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold. I am about to spit you out of my mouth. That is Revelations 3, 15, and 16. And I am reading that for Heather Rooks with the Peoria School District Governing Board, and letting her know that I'm thankful that she is strong and that she is hot in her faith, and that she has a right to her free speech, as do all of us. So that's my support for Heather, and you are in my mind as well. Making up drama on the dais for whatever posts is not beneficial. And I really also want to note that using the district as a platform to work in and run a campaign is also not appropriate. But politics is here. Politics has hit this district hard over the years, and we've seen it change over and over, and we've seen individuals change. And to that end, I once again ask LD2 to sanction Paul Carver for serving against everything he stood for in his campaign. I do want to thank the county attorney for at least looking into the violations of law, which tend to occur repeatedly, but generally are not looked at. And my final note is when things are stated in meetings, they're stated over and over again. And just because you don't like to hear what someone is saying because of who's saying it, does not mean they were not said, does not mean the information was not there. This board refuses to cooperate with one another for the good of the district as a whole. And it's going to have to change at some point, or it's just going to be volatile. We're not going to accomplish anything. We could accomplish things for the district, not for our political careers, not for our next election, not for our next position, for the district, for the kids. Good deeds done with the intent of personal gain are not good deeds. And I just really wish this board would kind of start looking in a mirror, looking inward, because we have taken teachers over the years from being underpaid, if that. Every year they would get a 1% that didn't go into anything. And the next year they started up below that 1% again. No matter how many times we gave them money, they'd fall backwards. And we have pushed and pushed to move them forward, and we've done it as teams. It took multiple board members to do it over many years, but it always took the support and collaborative work with the administration. And unfortunately, that's just something that no longer occurs. And it has to, or we're gonna, I mean, we can be stagnant for a year and a couple months. We can continue to break laws and disregard statutes and continue to have to take other legal means to address those issues. If the board will not stand by the law, then repeated reports to the Attorney General, civil rights, and on are going to continue because this is a body that is supposed to follow the laws. And that's it.
So I would like to thank all the administrators for working very hard with our students, with our staff. I believe October is National Principal Appreciation Month, Dr. Finch. So I thank you for all your hard work and working very hard to support our teachers and also building a community with the parents. I also would like to put our world in prayers, especially mothers and fathers that have children in the military, their sons and daughters. Keep them in prayers. My son recently stated that he wants to join the Air Force, and very proud of him that he's going to take that stand. And as a mother, looking at the world the way it is, I kneel in prayers for my son for protection and for every other parent that had children in the military. I also would like to let the board know what legal expenses. Sheila, do we have any legal expenses with attorney fees? If you would like to provide that to the board. We could not get a separate board legal counsel for the reason that I put in the agenda and the vote did not pass. So we did not, as a board, we did not get a separate legal counsel. So we go through the district. Also with numbering, who's gonna go first, second, I'm not, Sheila and I let her know, I'm not gonna keep track of that. I don't have time who's gonna go first, second, and like that extra job. So for moving forward, we're gonna start with Mr. Carver. It's easier, going down and then just, move forward that way. So because I'm not keeping track who's gonna go first and who's gonna go second. I'm the board president, I'm going to go last. I also would like to clarify with Mrs. Orway with the majority of parents and or staff. I have received a lot of emails from staff, even certain staff that they're afraid to speak to certain boards. So if they do come to me, probably maybe they feel comfortable. I believe in one board meeting, I read an email from a staff that a board member threw him under the bus talking to the administration. So it's all about trust. And that's all I have to say. Have a good evening. And again, thank you, administrators, for everything that you do. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?